For both the general election in 2020 and the runoff election in 2021, Georgians from all across the state came out and voted in record-setting numbers with more than 4 million ballots cast in both elections. Among those 4 million votes, between 1 and 1.3 million were cast by mail. Data shows that 90% of voters who voted in the November presidential election also participated in the January 5th runoff election. The option to vote by mail, especially in the middle of a global pandemic, helped guarantee that all Georgia voters could safely and securely participate in our democracy from their homes. Some Georgians believe the process of voting by mail was a little too easy and increases the chances of fraudulent votes. In the Georgia state legislature, there are a growing number of voices calling for changes to the process of voting by mail. Specifically, there is an effort to change laws around voting in elections so that voters would be required to submit a copy of his or her ID with both the absentee ballot application and when returning their completed absentee ballot. Another possible policy change would include the removal of all drop boxes by which voters were able to securely submit their completed absentee ballot at a nearby location in their county. The Georgia Secretary of State's office repeatedly stated there were no widespread examples of voter fraud in the November general election. So while it is difficult to see how these proposed changes might make voting more secure, it's not difficult to see how these changes would make the process of voting harder for many Georgia voters. There are other ways to confirm the identification of Georgia voters without requiring them to purchase a printer or take an unnecessary step to find one in order to vote. There is no doubt that voters who will be impacted most by this are young people, disabled voters, low-income voters, elderly voters, and those who are learning English as a second language. Many new Georgia voters were more easily able to participate in recent elections thanks to the option of voting by mail. Sushma Barakoti is just one of those new American voters.
My name is Sushma Barakoti, and I'm the Executive Director of the Refugee Women's Network and founder and owner of a social enterprise called Sunov World. I migrated to the United States 20 years ago from Nepal and now live with my family in Atlanta. Last November, I voted in the presidential election in the United States for the first time. Civic engagement and exercising my right to vote is very important to me and most of the immigrant and refugee families that I know and work with. When I made the decision to make United States my new homeland, I did not take that decision lightly. Likewise, for the refugees and the asylees who are settled in the United States, this is their home. This is where they are going to raise their children and make this place better for the generations to come. When I was working for Get Out the Vote effort in the communities, I came across many immigrant families, especially the elders, who preferred to vote by absentee ballots because it was convenient. They felt good that they could learn about the candidate that they were voting for before they cast their votes. Therefore, I believe that the newcomers to the country should be educated and encouraged to participate in the civic discourse and provide the much needed support and infrastructure to exercise their rights to vote.
Now more than ever, voting by mail should be kept fair, equal, and reasonably accessible to all eligible Georgians.